So who here is working on their first product, wants to start a product, something like that? And who is wondering what the heck they should build and super nervous about whether anyone will actually buy it? Yeah, so that was exactly my journey when I came to my first MicroConf a couple of years ago. And today I want to talk about how to research and validate your product and how to sell it and how to do so without like a crazy big list or anything like that. But in tradition of MicroConf, first a lifestyle slide, also to give you some context. A few years ago, I was in a pretty good place. I had built up my web agency finally to the point where 20 hours a week was kind of a hard week of work for me. So I was able to do cool things. I was able to go and rock climb for a month in Croatia with my wife, just because. And I was able to catch up on a lot of series of Netflix. So given that newfound freedom, I did what any self-respecting person would do. I decided to start another business. And so I decided to help freelancers because I had built up my own agency. So I thought, okay, let's start a site called Freelance Transformation. I don't really know what that transformation part of it really means yet, but I'm going to go with it. And over the next couple of years, I created a podcast and launched that, and then I launched a product. And specifically, last year, I launched my first product, an online course. And the process was I researched it, I launched it, and then I built it. And that's the important order. It's researched, launched, then built. I got my first $4,500 in pre-sales. And specifically today, I want to talk to you about 4 things that worked exceptionally well, 4 steps. So I hope you can use those in your own product too, if you've put up your hand earlier. So, first step. I knew I wanted to help freelancers, so I figured it would help to have an audience of freelancers. Otherwise, I got nobody to sell to. So I decided to start an email list and put my handsome face up on my website along with an opt-in form. And then I needed people to get into the opt-in form. So I went and I started guesting on podcasts. And pretty quickly, I was starting to build an email list, and I had several hundred people on my list. At the same time, I also started my own podcast, and I noticed people in the audience are going to be wondering about that, especially because some of you have been on it. And the podcast was awesome, too. It helped me connect with people that I never thought I could connect with. It built an amazing network for me, amazing authority for me. But I got to say, in terms of pure audience building, it was guesting on other people's podcasts that really did it, not starting my own, because I didn't have an audience yet. So I had an audience of freelancers. That's a great first step, but I didn't really know what they wanted. I had some ideas of what I thought I should teach them, but nobody had actually told me what it is that they want. So I started surveying them. And so what happened is they'd go onto my website, they'd get on the email list, I'd send them like a PDF ebook thing, and a couple days later, I'd ask them, did they like the ebook, did they have questions, and so on. That worked okay, but it wasn't working great. Emails were dribbling in, people were telling me stuff, but it wasn't really huge. So then I had the good fortune of meeting Ryan Levesque from the book Ask, and I highly recommend that book, by the way. And he had me tweak my email sequence, and he had me do what I'm going to call the magic biggest struggle email. Works like this. So now somebody would get on my email list, and they would get whatever freebie I promised them. But 2 hours later, they would get another email from me with the subject line, hey. And this was the email. Hey, a couple of hours ago, I sent you an email with the link to access your ideal client worksheet, or whatever it was I was offering them. Quick favor, will you hit reply to let me know that I sent it in the right place? And while I have you, this is the magic part, what is the biggest freelancing issue that you're struggling with? Boom. Tons of people were responding. My email list wasn't huge. It's still not huge. And I was getting multiple responses a day from people sharing their biggest struggle. And the first email that they would send me was kind of like, well, my biggest struggle is finding clients. So, okay, kind of cool, but doesn't give you much to go on. But then I went one step further with them. And I asked them, why is this your biggest struggle? What specifically are you struggling with? And that's when, instead of getting a one-sentence reply, I would get a paragraph, or sometimes a whole essay on this person just sharing everything that they were struggling with their freelancing business. It blew me away, quite frankly. Okay, so now I was getting some good market research. So I went one step further. I got on the phone with them, or realistically Skype, because we're not in the 19th century. So I got on Skype with them. The way I did that was when they sent me like that paragraph or essay or whatever, I just reply back, I'd love to learn more about your points below. Do you have 30 minutes to jump on Skype with me? And I gave them a link to my calendar to make it easy for them, make it easy for me. And I know we all like to hide behind our computer screens and like try to marketing, automate everything, never talk to real people and so on, except when we're at MicroConf. But I gotta say, talking to real people, it works. It works so well. So I'd get on these calls, and we would just have these amazing conversations about what is it that you're exactly struggling with, and just like drilling deep down in that. And then I get to find out, okay, let's say I can solve all of these things for you. Is that something that you would actually be interested in buying? What would cause you to buy it? What would cause you to not buy it? What kind of price would you pay? Are you interested? And that gave me amazing data. And to be honest, a lot of these 30-minute calls, they became 60-minute calls. We just kept talking, and the people were all enthused to have them. So okay, so I got people excited, and sounds like I've got a lot of good data. And through all of that, I realized what freelancers are really struggling with is, A, finding clients, but B, specifically how to get started. How do I go from my full-time job to full-time freelancing income? Okay, so now I have a product idea, solve exactly that for them. But I still had no money. So there was no real proof that they were actually going to pay me for this. They may have just been smiling and nodding and, okay, yes, Matt, yes, I'll give you money. So I needed a way to actually sell this product. And after a little bit of research, I realized a good way to do that would be to try to run a webinar to my list. So I did something specific. I took the people that were like super affirmative that yes, they would buy, and then I combined them with like a slightly bigger list for my email list of just people that Drip told me were really engaged subscribers. So Drip has a lead score, so I used that. And I emailed 60 people with a webinar. And I invited them the day before the webinar, and I sent a reminder on the day of. And I got quite a few people to show up to this webinar. So again, this wasn't like this big fancy thing. I had emailed like 60 people. That's it. And having some webinar attendees, I needed to build a webinar. So those were my slides. Not fancy, not pretty, just me working at PowerPoint at night. But the cool thing about the webinar is I took everything that I had researched, everything that the prospective customers had told me they were struggling with, and I packed it in there. And then I went and I ran my webinar. And something surprising happened. This is step 5 now, profit. I did not expect this, but out of just sending that email to 60 people, but 60 highly engaged people, I got 9 students for a pilot version of my course. So the course hadn't been built yet, but they agreed to pay me $500 each to be in this course. And that was off that one webinar. I expected I'd have to run more, like really work hard to fill that pilot. No, it failed. And having those students, I was then able to go and actually build the product. Now, building an 8-hour video course over 2 months, I don't know if I recommend that. I think I bit off too much there, but it worked out well. And I was able to work with those students, get a ton of their feedback, and take everything I had learned from running that pilot and release version 1 of a course, which was completely now built based on the student feedback, based on the validation, and I was even able to take all their tuition money that they had paid me and spend it all on a graphic designer. So now the course even looked good. In fact, Laura Elizabeth designed the slides, and she's in this audience. So if you need an amazing designer, talk to her. But suddenly I had a course, and thanks to MicroConf, and thanks to knowing I was hopping on a plane to Vegas and knowing I had to talk to you all, I finally went and I launched my first product last week as an official version 1. So that was 4 steps. Thank you. Thank you. Really happy about that. 4 steps, that's it. And if you want the slides, if you want to steal everything I just talked about, go to freelancetransformation.com/microconf. You can get the slides. You can sign up on my list, steal my email sequence, whatever you want. And if you want, email me with questions or catch me tonight. If you get a couple beers in me, then I'll give you the second half of this talk, the 4 things that I wish I hadn't done launching my first product. Thank you.